Welcome one and all to this beautiful Thursday evening, to the stream on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel here on YouTube. I'm Warren. It is very nice to be back. It's nice to see you, nice to have you, but it's also good to be back in the saddle of being around. My schedule was very wibbly wobbly. I think we're done. We're done for a while, I think. Fingers crossed. With the schedule being all over the place and interfering with the real reason I've been put on earth, and that is to dissect professional wrestling. That's, hopefully nothing will keep us apart moving forward. Fingers crossed. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But, look, hey, EW1, nice to see you, Travis. Welcome to the chat. So happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel as well, which is fantastic. And Cola the Lodger, nice to see you too. What's up with you? Also a member of the channel. It's good to have you. We'll continue talking as the people pour in, and I mean pour. I mean, like, completely unrich. How you doing, Carlos? Nice to see you. Welcome. Yeah, I was away for a wee bit. Did I promote this? I don't think I promoted the start of my stream on Blue Sky like a dope, right? I did not. So we're gonna pull this up here. And we're gonna go, come on, I'm live. What are you even doing? There we go. So that's a good one. I enjoy that. Page for the fifth, nice to see you. Welcome. Yes, the coveted yellow mustard variant here today. It's all part of my deals with Jazzwares. That's the reason why AEW and Jazzwares no longer do business with each other for the action figures, is because of all the intake they're gonna get from me, all the production that I'm going to overtake. They're like, oh, we just can't handle these two juggernauts of professional wrestling. We got to drop one of them, and unfortunately, the billion-dollar company with the crazy television media rights deal is going to be the one we can get rid of. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Jazzwares are necessarily smart business people, but they made the right choice. There's no action figures. Just to be clear, this is just to be very clear. Tony Schiavone's in the house. Nice to see you. Welcome. Could this be the greatest night in the history of our great sport? There's a lot to compete with. How you doing, Basit? Yeah, I was away for a couple of days. I was in New York City, Madmani's New York City. I was there for work-related reasons. It was a very in and out type of thing. Wasn't going around doing much sightseeing. Didn't go to the Statue of Liberty. Didn't go to Times Square. Didn't go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Didn't go to the Guggenheim Museum of Art. Didn't go to Coney Island. Did go to Central Park though. I was close to Central Park, so that was pretty cool. That's right. I am Mr. Jet Set. I am. How you doing, Convoy? Welcome. So I was there for a couple of days, and it was very nice. I think it's the longest I've been successively in New York. Most of the times I'm very in and out, but I was there for like 3 days. So, but I was extremely busy. So like I said, there wasn't really any time to sit around and enjoy the sights, and stuff like that. Yeah, I was. It was nice though, because the weather was fucking gorgeous. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. I know, look, everyone tells me once the heat hits in New York and the humidity kicks in, it becomes unbearable, right? But this was like, you know, just beautiful sunshine, really warm weather, but still the humidity's not around. So that was tremendous. It was such a great time. It was such a great time. Not a big basketball guy, but I hear the Knicks are doing great. How was the atmosphere? Look, look, I'm not a big basketball guy either. Look, I stopped watching basketball back in the 90s. But I got to tell you, I kind of wanted to become a Knicks fan just by the atmosphere. I left yesterday evening, and yesterday was game 1 of the finals, right? And I swear I promise you, okay, everyone, first of all, Knicks t-shirts and jersey as far as the eye could see, right? They're just fucking everywhere. I was hanging around. I was like on the east side, I guess is what it is. So like really on the border, you know, between sort of like encroaching over Manhattan and Harlem, I guess. And that's where everything was going on for me. And I swear, like, first of all, like I said, the jerseys everywhere. You had makeshift signs being put up and stuck on buildings and things like that. And then, like, you're at a street corner. You're waiting to cross. You're waiting for the crosswalk. And there's a couple of people there, and they're talking about the Knicks. So then you walk, and you make it to the next block, and you're waiting there with a bunch of people to cross, and talking about the Knicks. I go to a deli to get a sandwich, a terrific chicken club sandwich. It's absolutely tremendous. Like, the amount of bacon that dude put on my sandwich. Look, he put I plead complete ignorance as if this is like the thing typically in New York, right? I don't know in the delis, but he used the bacon as the foundation in the sandwich. So it's, you know, the sub bun, right? And he cuts through it, and all of the crevice, it's all filled up with bacon. So he's laying everything on top of the bacon, like shredded bacon, like actually not bacon bits, like actual shredded bacon that he cooked right there. And then he's all, it was just, I couldn't finish it anyway. So the guys on the line were talking about the Knicks. I'm walking down Central Park. There's a couple of joggers coming by, and they're talking about the Knicks. Everyone's fucking talking about the Knicks. Everyone is talking about the Knicks. And I left at a really good moment because I had to get to Penn Station, and apparently to take a train because I was going out of New York. Anyway, who cares, right? But apparently they were shutting down, like they were shutting down some streets for the fan fest, the fan club. I don't know exactly what you call it. You know, they put out screens outside onto the street so that people can watch on the street, and they were shutting down some streets. It's Knicks fever right now. I swear to God. And I was talking with some local New Yorkers. I was like, what's going to happen in the city if the Knicks win if they win the series? So this place is going to go nuts. I'm like, yeah, they're going to tear this place apart. There's going to be looting and rioting, right? Go, no. New Yorkers are crazy, but they're not that crazy. They're going to be celebrating. Everyone's going to be having a good time. I'm like, oh, you've never been to Montreal when the Canadians, like the last time the Canadians won the Stanley Cup, they fucking tore the place apart. So I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, they were kind of surprised. They're like, really? Canadian fans? Like, Canadians, period, would go around looting streets because their hockey team won a match? Yep. Yo, you got, yep. They're like, maybe this is something they do in LA, but not in New York. Anyway, they were very excited. Everyone I was talking about had something to say about the Knicks. So it's Knicks fever right now. For those missing context, Warren is a very successful Christian music promoter, and this was a big weekend in that industry. No. That is Couldn't be more false. Not even a big bacon guy. That sounds amazing. I swear, Convoy. And it was so good. And you know, like the chicken was fried, but not like deep fried. It was more like, you know, threw into a pan with some with some cornstarch and some spices just to get a bit of a crunch on it, but not like actually fried. It was so fucking good. It was so good. I couldn't finish the sandwich. I never not finish my plates. I never not finish what I eat. And here I was. And other than that, like, Lodger asks, hope you ate well. And on the company dime, oh yes, trust me. We went, the main guy that, the main guy we hung out with that, like, he's not specifically my boss, but, you know, one of the higher ups who knows New York well. He took us out to eat at the, he took us out to eat at a place called Tavern on the Green. And if I think it's a pretty famous place because I had heard of it, despite the fact that I've never been to New York. I've at the very least heard about it, right? I said, oh, go to Tavern on the Green. Okay. You know, go in and we settle in and we enjoy the food and we enjoy the atmosphere. We have, they have a few drinks. I don't drink all that much. There was a time I'd drink a lot more. There was a time I could really there was a time I could drink anyone under the table. There really was an era of my life where I was like, yeah, no problem, bring it on type of thing. But it is unfortunately no longer the case. And I want to show you a picture of what I ended up eating, of what I ordered. It is famous, right? Okay. Tavern on the Green. Not the fact that I'm a Christian music guy, right? Mike McCullough, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Member of the channel on top of that. So, okay. Just before I do show you, the guy, the server is going down. He's going down his specials of the day. And he says on today's special we have a 32-ounce steak served with mac and cheese and some greens. Like, that sounds good, And then it dawned on me, it's like, look, for all the times that I've been in New York, which isn't much, to be fair, I've never had like a New York steak. I've never had like a steak in New York. So I'm like, you know what? And I was pressured into it, to be fair. Everyone was like, you gotta have one of those. Yeah, you didn't get your what was it? The Lester's hot dog? I think that's the thing that I'm supposed to have. Because on other occasions, I've done things like I've had the bagels. I've had, I have, a slice, just a New York slice, to use the cliche. I've done all of that stuff. But yeah, I never had like a steak. I said, order that. Okay, I'll order that. And the guy says, well, there was three of us, and he said, oh, you'll be able to share all three. And I'm like, it's a 32-ounce steak. I'll be able to eat a 32-ounce steak. You don't know me very well. I was like, all right, fine. This is what they come back with. This is what they lay down. The dude's got, like, you see, he's got the handles on either side of this plank of wood with a tomahawk steak, with this huge fucking steak. And like 2 pounds of artichokes. And then, I don't know if you notice here, the mac and cheese, right? I don't know if you all notice here, just this little part, oh, come on. This little part here in the middle, right? Right there. Know what that is? You know what that is, chat? That's lobster. So I basically ordered this completely absurd surf and turf like deal here. And then, so he puts that down on the table and everyone is fucking stunned. And like, oh, this is why we would share it. Cause it's fucking huge. You know, it weighs like an infant child. And then he's like, well, you know, so I'm like, okay, well, I'll get to it then, you know? And I'm like, here, put it right here. He says, oh, no. We just brought it here so that you guys could take pictures. I'm going to take it back and slice it up for you. Oh, okay. So, you know, like they know what they're doing here. They know what's up. They're like, yeah, we're going to throw up this big fucking thing here. And then as he brought it back and it was all sliced, I was like, I accept this challenge. I accept this challenge without a problem. Like I saw it as a point of personal pride. So I just chucked in and I played the long game. Took it easy, smaller bites than probably what I would usually take. Didn't go too hard on the mac and cheese. Thankfully, did not fill up on bread beforehand. That could have been a possibility. You know, went into the mac and cheese very slow, just a few bites. I actually offered you guys, you want to go right ahead, have some of the mac and cheese, you know. And I ate some of the I ate most of the mac and cheese. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. By the way, I should have asked first and foremost. You're not supposed to show this picture to my cardiologist, okay? You're not supposed to show. Don't clip this and show it to my cardiologist. He's not going to be happy. I've got an MRI coming up in a couple of weeks. He will not be pleased. So I took it as a point of pride, a challenge then. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to eat this, I'll go. And honestly, you know, despite, you know, my ego saying I can do it, you know, deep down inside, I knew I wouldn't be able to eat it all, but I must have eaten easily 90% of that steak. The 10% that was left, impossible. I just couldn't do it. Because then as we went along, I started eating a few more of the asparagus, for instance. The asparagus were a nice little change, and they were really good, and they were cooked perfectly. And the mac and cheese, well, it was really good, and there was big chunks of lobsters. I was like, but I probably went through 90%, and then when the server comes back, one of my colleagues goes, okay, from all the time that you've been working here, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did our boy do here? He says, well, I've been here about a month. I've served maybe a dozen of these overall. I think you did pretty good. You, though, sir, are the first person who decided to go at it alone. There you go. That's what I hang my hat on. I took on the Tavern on the Green. I don't even know what they call it. I don't even remember. It doesn't even have a name. It's just like items on the menu. It's a, you know, it was a daily this was a fucking daily special. And I laughed and I said at the end, look, yeah, I should get some merch, right? I didn't get any merch. I should have gotten a hat. At the very least, you know, just a hat. Don't you think? Plus, I think it was like $200. It was an insane price. Like, I didn't ask for the price, and everyone at the table was like, do it. So no one cared. So when the check came over, you know, and I saw my guy, his eyes bulging. He says, holy shit, this was $200. So you are supposed to share it, I guess, and then split the bill 3 ways. Fucking A. Highly recommend it though, because that was a lot of fun and tasty. And here's look, we had 3 sauces here, as you noticed. There were 3 sauces. The middle one was a béarnaise sauce. I don't know what the others were, but I barely used them because the steak was so good. I have a tendency to believe that if the steak is well seasoned, well cooked, well put together, you don't need sauce to cover shit up. And you don't need sauce to enhance taste. I did use the béarnaise a little bit, like I said, like that, because I like that kind of sauce, and it worked well. But I ate most of the steak without the sauce. I dipped some of the asparagus into the béarnaise. So there you go. That's what I did. That's what I did in New York on Tuesday evening instead of putting the Mr. Warren Hayes show together. That's what I did. It was a fun time, though. It was a fun time, and honestly, the weather was absolutely gorgeous. It was wonderful. It was a good trip. It was good. It was hectic. You know, the problem is, you know, like it is my understanding that it is cheaper to come into New York via Newark Airport, but it's also a hassle to get into New York from Newark. I did like take a train in, which dropped me off at Penn Station, and then from Penn Station I took a cab. So it's not so bad, but it's just like, you know, I came in at peak hours, let's put it that way. And I had anyway. So that's been my my little escapade. That was my little escapade over there in New York, and did a lot of work. It was exhausting, and boy, did I sleep well in my bed last night. Can't even begin to tell you. So there's a meal right there. That's the meal I ate while listening to the members only access Dynamite reviews. Thinking of all the poors who have to wait. Mike McCullough gets it. That's exactly what you should be eating, as you get early access stuff from the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. That's you absolutely get it. And look, what did you get this week? You got the full Mr. Warren Hayes Show on Sunday, right? Didn't I put that out on Sunday? Since Sunday, you've been enjoying the Mr. Warren Hayes Show over and over again. Plus, there was like content that I recorded specifically for the podcast. There was stuff that I didn't talk about on stream that I did want to drop into the podcast before I left. Namely the WWE. Nick Khan and Vince McMahon getting spanked by a judge because they've been destroying too many any documents, actually, not just too many. They've been destroying documents in regards to the TKO merger, which is not good. This is all part of the shareholder lawsuit. And they are not happy about it, and the judge was not happy about it, and now it's like the burden of proof on Vince and Nick has tripled. I guess it's going to be so much harder because the judge basically said, "Hey, listen, we are starting off with the principle that you guys destroyed evidence, or that you guys destroyed messages, I should say, you know." Like that, we're starting off on those principles that these are fact, and you are going to have to disprove these facts, which is different as to when you go in with a clean slate and you can present your case and whatnot. No, they're starting the lawsuit, the trial with this, and yes, it is going to trial. By the way, trial is starting next week, right? So it's going to be, I'm very excited to see what's going to come up, what more is going to come up. Anyway, I talk about it at length in this week's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, which was available in early access for members, but then the rest of y'all got access to it on its typical hour of Wednesday. Well, typical day of Wednesday this week. So yeah, the stream highlights, and you had that little nugget of good stuff that was available. Now, maybe you're asking yourselves, you say, hey, wait a second. King of the North, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the chat. It is nice to see you. Please look at the meal I had on Tuesday night, all for me. So maybe you're wondering right now, you're saying, hey, Warren, MrWarrenHayes show, good and all. We enjoy it. It is a quality recording. However, where's your Dynamite review? Well, I'm glad you asked. And I also talked about it last week and I posted about it. So you're not paying attention if you're kidding. The Dynamite review, of course, I wasn't able to watch Dynamite. I wasn't able to watch Dynamite. I started to watch Dynamite on my laptop while waiting to board last night. So I caught maybe 15, 20 minutes of the opener. And I actually missed a bit of the opener. So maybe I watched 12 minutes of Dynamite, long enough to see Roosh bleed. So that's pretty cool. But I knew this was going to happen. I knew I had warned everyone that the Dynamite review this week would be delayed. So it will either be, it'll depend on how quickly I can get around to watching the Dynamite show. It'll depend on when I can get around to recording it. There's a very good chance that, it could be tomorrow, it could be Saturday, but there will be a Dynamite review within the next couple of days. That you have my Scout's honor promise that will be, that is on the schedule. It's just a little delayed because of all of the nonsense. But honestly, like I said, I think the wibbly wobbliness of the schedule should be settled. I don't think I'll be running around on international flights for a while now. Could be wrong. Hey, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. Because the international flights that, I used to do, particularly before my heart incident. We're going to nice exotic locales. We're going to Bologna, Italy. We're going to Barcelona, Spain. We're going to Marseille in France. We're not heading out to Des Moines or Kansas City, which I've been to. Not impressed with either. So yeah. So, I might, but I don't think so. I don't think I'll be traveling much for the foreseeable future anyway. So what I'm trying to say is that everyone who's here, everyone who might be listening to the VOD later, my schedule will be back on track. We should be okay now with, we should be done for a while at least with all this fucking Warren moving things around. And can't you just stick to the schedule? Don't you understand that consistency is king? Consistency this. No, but look, as long as this is not paying the bills, you know what I mean? I gotta go where the money is. I enjoy this. This is fun and all. I'd love to be able to do this full time, but it ain't all that. It ain't going to be off YouTube ad revenue that I'm going to be doing that. Trust me. JD, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. My God, that meal does that meal look amazing. Almost makes me want to throw out my tuna melts and tomato soup that I'm making. Hey, brother, you and I both. I had a tuna melt for lunch today. Look, do not degrade the tuna melt. The tuna melt is underrated. It is a tremendous thing. Congrats on another year of the top 30 under 30, by the way. Finished reading it all this afternoon and your contributions were fantastic. Well, thank you very much, my dear Evan. I appreciate it. We'll be talking. I'm in a list type of mood. We've got lists, plural, to talk about. So there you go. I think that covers everything that's going on right now. Because I've got other things. Oh my God, jump scare. You get rid of the delicious meal. And you got this guy waiting for you. All right, let's do this.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere.
That's right.
Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master. And I represent
Booyah! What was that? Look at YouTube suddenly broadcasting in 480p, 360p. What the fuck is this shit? Oi, I paid for YouTube Premium. What the fuck happened here? 144p? No, hang on. No, wait a minute. Hang on. This is Jacques Moliere. He's a nunchuck master, and he represents NWA Mountain State Wrestling. He deserves to be seen in full HD. Is it 60 frames a second? It's not 60 frames a second, though. Right? It's not. No, it's just good old 1080p, maybe 24, maybe 30, probably 24. Let's do this again. Now we got to do this properly, right? That's just how it goes. Booyah! There we go. Fucking quality drop. What the hell was that? Going from that wheel straight to Jacques gave me the bends. For real. There you go. Good for you, Jacques. Imagine giving Jacques tomahawk steak nunchucks. That would actually be awesome. I'd be into that. I'd be very much into that. That's a very good suggestion. We should send it his way. I'm very open to I feel overall it's a light night of news. I've been trying to keep up as much as possible. I tried to play catch up today, but I'm playing catch up. Meanwhile, the past couple of days I've been in New York, and there were a lot of people today who were waiting for me. Like, hey, didn't want to bug you while you were in New York doing all this stuff, so I had a lot of stuff to do. So if you guys and gals and non-binary pals have any questions you want to ask me about things that have happened over the week, go right ahead. Go right ahead. We won't open a Q&A. Just like drop them as we go along. But one thing I will address. That's it. We've had so many butcher wrestlers. Has anyone used a tomahawk steak as a weapon? No, I don't think so. But because here's the thing too, right? Here's the thing. Like a tomahawk steak is fucking expensive. That's the thing. And wrestlers are cheap as hell. So no, I don't think they'd spend all that money on something very disposable. As disposable as meat, WarrenHayes is Shun Skywalker on the list. He said he's leaving Dragon Gate. What list? On the list tonight? No, I didn't put it up. See, that's it. I knew he was leaving. Fuck. I knew he was leaving, but I didn't put it on the list because I've been trying to, because this is our docket here for tonight, folks. But yeah, look, we can address it pretty much out the gate, out the Dragon Gate. Yeah, Shun Skywalker. There's got to be a place where, because I know Case Low, it's Case Low that informed me earlier today that Dragon Gate superstar Shun Skywalker was leaving the company. In something that, from what I am gathering, is of course. Do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear my neighbor mowing his lawn? Because of course he's doing this on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. Please tell me you don't hear it. Please tell me the compression on my microphone is good enough to knock that noise out. We'll use this article here. Right there. You don't hear it? Good. Faintly audible. Barely. In fact, then that stinks. That I don't. No, sir. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. All right. Why don't we start with that then? Shun Skywalker has announced that he's going to be leaving Dragon Gate. We'll read the article off of the Post Wrestling. And it's Jason who wrote it. And honestly, like, it's kind of embarrassing because I always ask Jason, how do you pronounce your name? And he keeps telling me. But he told me one time. He told me one time in a DM. Let me pull it up here. Okay, there we go. We're supposed to pronounce it Unprasur. That's what Unpraseuth is pronounced. That's how it's pronounced, folks, in the English language. Unprasur. Okay? Y'all figure it out. My linguistic days are behind me. Shun Skywalker surprisingly announced he will leave Dragon Gate. The 30-year-old cut a promo following his match at Rainbow Gate at Corkin Hall. He announced he would leave Dragon Gate to, quote unquote, go back to the heavens. The announcement shocked fans in attendance, his tag team partner Hayo, and general manager Ryo Saito. There's the thing. Do you want to listen to the promo? Well, start, brother. We don't have to listen to the promo. Skywalker has previously teased leaving the promotion in character, but Dragon Gate English commentator Jay posted on social media that the promo was not part of an angle, with hopes of his last matches to be in his hometown and at Kobe World. It is unclear if the final night of Rainbow Gate at Corkin Hall will actually be Skywalker's last date with the promotion. A graduate of the Dragon Gate Dojo, Skywalker officially debuted for the promotion in 2016 and became one of Dragon Gate's top stars in the 2020s, if not the top star, following his excursion in Mexico. He is a former 3-time Open the Dream Gate champion, a former Open the Twin Gate champion, and a former 4-time Open the Triangle Gate champion. I was going to say, because one of the things that a lot of people speculated very quickly early on is, this is an angle he's running. People are thinking he's, babyface. Here he comes, going back to the heavens, But Jay went on socials and he seemed pretty dejected. What was the tone that he used in his tweet was like also, this is what he said. He said, also, not an angle. Shun is leaving. Last will be world at the latest. Hometown show at the earliest. Like, that is, he sounds pretty dejected. And especially when fans sort of started expressing their sadness, I guess, at the announcement. But Jay responded again in a sort of a kind of dejected manner. He says, it's fine. It's like when Shingo went. It's not like it was stopping any momentum or making things any worse. That's not good. There's nothing else to do if he doesn't want to do anything. It sucks, but there are bigger problems with or without him. So look, I am not an avid Dragon Gate watcher. I do hang around in circles with a lot of Dragon Gate watchers, and not a lot of them have a lot of good things to say about Dragon Gate these days. Some people outright saying that this is the worst Dragon Gate has ever been at, and they're all kind of just shrugging, saying, well, look, whether he stays or goes, kind of like Jay said, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to make things better. The problems are deeper. The problems are more widespread. So, I guess this is the point where we say, good for Skywalker. I mean, good for him. If he's like, look, I've done everything here. I've hit a ceiling. Plus, the promotion is not necessarily going in a promotion in a direction, I should say, that is making me that's exciting me. Well, movement going around, trying stuff out. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that is what a healthy wrestling ecosystem should allow you to do, which is pretty much the case in Japan. So, of course, the big question is, or the thing that everyone is pointing at and going, oh, he's going to go to New Japan, isn't he? Quite frankly, I have no clue, but I think it would be pretty cool. Unless they recruit him for House of Torture, which is absolutely 100% possible that they would. He's a big time heel. He's a big time heel. I don't know why they, like, if I remember correctly, like he's a guy who was a baby face and then he turned heel, and that's where everything sort of uncorked. You know, what do? Do you bring him to House of Torture? But then one of the things that you want to see out of this guy is his charisma and his in-ring work, because he has an incredible combination of both. Like this is a guy who's destined to be a major star in pro wrestling. He's got all of the skills. He's got all the goods. Now it's just a question of finding the right spot in the right promotion. And he's still fairly young. Like, I think he turned 30 just recently. He's not on our 30 under 30 list for that particular reason, but he was consistently since we've started doing the 30 under 30 list at VOW, which was like in 2023, he's been consistently on the list and in the top 10 every year. So there's something there for him to do. There's in New Japan, and there's something there. There's something there with him as a pro wrestler that's just undeniable. So yeah, look, for all I know, he might end up in Osaka Pro. For all I know, or 0-1. Noah is a logical spot as well. But maybe, look, just maybe, under the auspices of this forthcoming deal with Cyber Agent, maybe the new bosses are like, yeah, we'll uncork a few more yen. We'll liberate a few more yen so that you here in this wrestling company can allocate a bigger budget to attract new talent. Sure, we can do that. As Bushi Road had completely cut that off. I had heard so many things about how they didn't want to hire Gaijin anymore. They didn't want to bring in people for short stints. That we've been hearing for years about the salary cuts that the wrestlers were taking, particularly Tetsuya Naito. It's just we've been hearing that for such a long time. There was a point where it was just like, well, they're stunting their own growth, right? This is being problematic. And more importantly, how dangerously in the hole is New Japan? Well, clearly not as bad as we thought, because they were sold for a non-embarrassing amount of money. Maybe not the greatest amount of money, but it definitely wasn't embarrassing. So maybe the new guys will be like, yeah, let's meet this dude's demands. Let's go right ahead. Like, okay, let's do that. So poor Shun. What am I talking about? Poor Shun. What did I say that? There's no poor about it. Good for Shun. He decided that he had enough with Dragon Gate and he's ready to move on. And is it symptomatic of how poorly things are going there in Dragon Gate? I don't know, maybe. I'm not plugged in as much. Try to follow what the converts are saying. I haven't gotten that vibe, but no one is looking at Shun Skywalker leaving Dragon Gate right now and, crying, bent over, hands over their face. It's like, oh my God, this is the death of Dragon Gate. No one is saying that. Just like no one is saying necessarily, well, that's a good thing. It's just like, well, it's time to fix what's wrong. But again, I can't speak too much on that because I don't regularly partake in the Dragon Gate. So I couldn't tell you. But apparently, you know, look, people people whose opinions I hold to a high standard tell me that Dragon Gate is in a terrible spot right now, and the promotion is probably at its lowest point in its history creatively. And then the gate, you know, the actual gates, not the Dragon Gates, but the actual, you know, attendance is not good. It's a very hard promotion to watch right now. Crazy how a lot of the men's promotions in Japan are following this type of suit. At least the major ones, right? Isn't that interesting? What is going on? Anyway, so we'll see what the next step is for Shun Skywalker. But good for him. Yay, Shun. Okay. All right. Well, since we've started talking about a departure and contracts, we've got a little bit of contract news here to talk about. So why don't we go over to this here? Sean Ross Sapp earlier today broke the news that the Butcher and the Blade, AEW stalwarts, day oneers. Are they day oneers? Was the Butcher and the Blade day oneers? And when I mean day one, I mean like the first Dynamite as opposed to the original Double or Nothing, because a lot of stuff happened between the Double or Nothing and the first Dynamite. Anyway, long-time tag team, the Butcher and the Blade, confirmed to be gone from AEW. Their contract was not renewed, and they are now officially, as it is plastered here across the screen for those of you with the benefit of video, free agents. So I think this is fine. I think this is fine. I don't know what else to say. I will find something else to say though. No, like, you know, we've reached a point in AEW's history where there's people who just no longer mesh there, that seem a little awkward into how AEW has developed, if any of this makes sense. You know, I feel that there's a lot of the day oneers, when they come out when they came out in 2025 and 2026, they feel a little out of place. They're like, oh, this promotion has kind of passed you by. I know no one wants to talk about it because she's so beloved, but Riho is in that list. She comes out and you're like, holy cow. Like, you know. That's just the thing, right? There's some acts that just pass you by. It's just as simple as that. I think the Dark Order are in that spot as well. You know, they show up on TV and you're like, you guys don't exactly fit in here anymore, type of thing. And that's normal. Look, that's normal. I'm not saying this because they were terrible or that they didn't play a part in that era. That's normal. Things change, things evolve, and you either keep up or, you get thrown to the wayside. And sometimes it's not just a question of keeping up. Are you being booked? Are people following you? Are you being booked? Are you being featured on television or whatnot? I understand that it's a bunch of things, right? But I think this is absolutely okay. Like Chad is pointing out, 6 years getting a steady salary, and the Blade, having the time he needs to recuperate, get himself in working shape again because he was pretty badly injured. He was pretty banged up. I think this is absolutely okay. And, they're older. They're more banged up. Yeah. And again, let's be real here. Wasn't exactly Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey here either. You know what I mean? There wasn't exactly Brett and Neidhart. Well, maybe two Neidharts. No, that's going a little too far. But you know what I mean? Like, they weren't exactly a tag team that was bringing down the house every time they came out. They had an incredible look, and Butcher Andy was, he commanded a phenomenal presence because he just came across as a huge dude amongst all of these smaller guys all around him, So, that's essentially the thing. That's, decent workers, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they suck, but it's, we're not losing the Bucks here. We're not losing the young Bucks. This is absolutely okay. And it's good for, what is the better thing to do here? Just hang on to them and keep them in limbo, or let them go off and do something else. And what a lot of people fail to grasp also is that you can circle back around to a promotion at some point. They can just come back around. And maybe it's like in a couple of years, you're like, hey, you guys want back in? Get an offer back. It's very normal. It's very fucking normal. I don't have a problem with this in the least. Because they had very good jobs. They had very good jobs till the very end. They really did. So good for them. Good for them on that front. They've been working for a major company all that time. Could they have been used better? I don't know. I guess now we get into what ifs and scenarios and whatnot, which I'm not getting into. There's no real point. I think they're better. See, this is the movement thing. I feel like sometimes people still act like there's only one promotion out there, and then, oh my God, they lost their job, and all the doors have suddenly closed. There's different places now to go make a decent amount of money if they want. Anyway, look, we wish them the best, and if they ever circle back to AEW, that's the thing. If they ever come back to AEW, we're like, hey, it's the Butcher and the Blade. These guys are pretty rad. I won't be upset if they come back. Won't bother me none. Won't bother me none if they never come back either. Not unless they suddenly become machines on the independent circuit and you're like, holy fuck. All right. D. Owens, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. It is good to see you. Kristen Ashley, hello, darling. Welcome to the chat. Welcome. Don't forget to do the rankings. It's so nice to see you. Both of these people are members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on top of that. Yeah, they were early, but not day one, right? I wasn't sure if they were day oneers specifically. Mr. Antox, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. I do remember the butcher shop scene as well. And I thought that was really rad, where they were just like these actual butchers working, and then they get gigs to go beat up dudes. I thought that's some creative that really could have gone a long way, I think. Because I like the idea of them just being mercenaries, that you get, I need a guy beaten up. All right, let's go. We're already getting the pearl clutching posts of Tony dropping the ball, not giving them the belts. What are you barking at? What are you barking at? Juno, you're disrupting the flow of the show. What's wrong with you? I started barking. I'm here. It's fine. Probably a dog barking outside and she got really excited. That's quite likely it. There's a dog behind us across the fence. Just yaps. You know, she gets all bent out of shape when she hears it. What were we saying? Yeah, not strapping up the butcher and the blade. Who cares? Who cares? You know, Tony fumbled. We'll see how much he fumbled. We'll see how much he fumbled with how well they do out there. Because I remember, you know, certain people in a warehouse in Orlando chanting Tony fumbled when a certain Ricky Starks showed up, when a Mariah May showed up, and boy oh boy, I have not seen any evidence to prove to me that Tony fumbled on any circumstance so far. But keep it an open mind. Sucks the blade got injured for that long. Yeah. Like I think ultimately that's the major issue. And look, there might be other things happening backstage. We just don't know. There's going to be a lot of upset people when they don't renew the Dark Order. You said it. That's actually going to create a meltdown, and people are going to start posting. Remember when Hangman was friends with the Dark Order, and they all came out to defend them, and most of them are not even there anymore. And yeah. Oh well. Okay. No. Wait. Hang on a second. Like Alan Angels is gone. What was the guy? Preston Vance. He's gone, right? Or is he? I don't know. Like he's never on TV. He doesn't even do Ring of Honor. Why am I thinking about? Why do I want to break down who's left in the Dark Order? It doesn't matter. Like Anna Jay's still there. Uno's still there. Silver and Reynolds. Everyone else, it doesn't matter. Silver Apocalypse, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. They could have and should have been used more, but those injuries did derail them quite a bit. Yeah. Damn, I'm catching up. I didn't think I'd catch Kansas City slander today. Listen, I've been there. I've slept there. Kansas City, not great. That's my assessment. I did say hello to you. I just said hello to you. Anakin JMT is here. Nice to see you, Anakin. He also left he's also a member of the channel, but he also left a super chat, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I am now a parent of a high schooler. That's scary. Congratulations. Now the real work begins. Now the real work begins. Preston Vance is in the frat house. Okay, see. So there's still more people left of the Dark Order than I would have expected. You know. Of course, and the reminder anytime. Don't forget the ratings. The Butcher had one really good match and it was against Darby Allin. Like that's the thing. It's like they're fine little workers. We're fine little workers. We just can't lose sight of things. If they say they're dropping the ball, those people were dropped on their heads. Who can give a damn? I mean, you know. Athena versus Shuri for the Ring of Honor Women's title announced for Global War Cincinnati. So they're going to have Shuri job out to Athena. That's criminal behavior. That's what that is. Criminal behavior. All right, what else have we got? Oh yeah, there's rumors going around that Mike Santana is his deal is going to be up like in July, I want to think. We'll read the article here. But apparently WWE is interested in the old Mike Santana. So let's read this article off of the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. It was reported last week that Santana's TNA contract is set to expire sometime this July. In an update on the situation, WrestleVotes, you bastion of accurate knowledge, you notes that there is, quote, interest from the WWE side, unquote, in acquiring Santana, who is said to be well regarded for his professionalism along with his work in the ring. The report says, while it isn't known which brand he would land on if he does sign, WWE would like him to be in the main roster by the end of 2026. Santana has already crossed over into WWE through the TNA NXT partnership. He currently holds the TNA World Championship and will defend the title at TNA Slammiversary on June 28 against a yet-to-be-announced opponent. His most recent defense was against Steve Macklin, and Santana owes Eric Young an upcoming shot. Excuse me. Choking on my water like it's fucking whiskey. What the hell? This February, Santana reached 3 years sober from drugs and alcohol. He's been open about getting sober to be a better parent to his daughter. Good for him. Congratulations. That's legitimately awesome. Can't meme off of that. The past couple of years have been a wild ride for him, with Santana finding single success in TNA after departing AEW and no longer specializing in tag team wrestling. So, okay, so here's my thing. This is the one thing that irks me out of this reporting, right? Is that, WrestleVote says that there's interest from the WWE side, saying that he is who is said to be well regarded for his professionalism along with his work in the ring. This is WWE that's saying, talking about his level of professionalism, right? But I thought TNA was its own promotion. It's its own thing. What is TNA sending scouting reports to WWE and saying, yeah, no, he's very, very professional? Is that what we're doing here? Is this just continuing to reaffirm and establish that TNA is just a feeder system for WWE and just sending like development reports? Because that's what it sounds like to me, folks. That's what it sounds like to me. And what is interest, right? What is interest? You can be interested in a bunch of things and never act on it. I'd be interested in purchasing a Porsche. I'd be very interested in purchasing an Aston Martin vehicle. But I'm not going to do that. But I'm interested. But I'm not going to buy one. But I'm interested. Regardless, look, outside of WrestleVotes' constant vague and self-protecting language and reporting overall, right? You'll notice WrestleVotes always reports with vagaries and things that they can protect themselves if people ever come back and say, hey, you said Mike Santana was going to. No, I said there was interest. It's like, what? What is it? What are you talking? What's wrong? I think now she's seeing pictures of herself on the TV screensaver and she's going crazy. Juno. Yeah, she's standing right in front of the TV and she's making happy noises. So she's seeing pictures of herself. She's like, "Ooh, who's that? What are you doing? You're being silly." All right, never mind. Anyway, excuse me, back on track. Look, all of this, none of this, I should say, would have happened to him being coveted or having some interest by WWE if he hadn't decided to take a chance on himself and bet on himself. And it's going to pay off in the best possible way. He's probably, there's a very high likelihood at this stage where he's going to end up on WWE television and he's going to get like the biggest exposure that he's ever had, and he'll probably get the biggest monetary contract he's ever had, I would assume. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be hard work paying off. Like that's a true end goal for him. And that is a testament of how much he believed in himself and how much he worked for it. And again, these are things that you applaud. These are things that you're like, yeah, because the end of the article is not wrong. This guy had been pigeoned into being a tag team specialist. Like that was his thing. But Santana was like, no, I've got the goods to be a single star. Well, there you go. Now, I don't think he's going to be a guy in WWE. I don't think he has any of the chops that they're looking for unless something clicks on main roster, something that none of us could have predicted, that none of us could have seen. He's a good little worker. He hits the working standard of WWE. But I unless he gets himself a yeet, I don't see him having a very high ceiling, which is fine. Again, he doesn't have necessarily to go there and become a world champion. He can go in there and he hits his level at Intercontinental Champion or whatever mid-card title of choice. There's like a dozen of those in WWE these days. So, whatever he wants to do. He could just, whatever he wants to do, whatever plans they have for him. I don't think it's going to go any higher than that. I legitimately think he'll be a solid mid-carder for them. He'll be a guy who at some point that will be on the chopping block and whatnot, and he might just turn into an incredible company man too. That just might be a thing where he's like, yeah, look, I've hit as high as I'm going to go here. He's not going to be a guy. He's not going to be he's not going to be in that class of Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and Roman Reigns. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Now you'll notice I'm not saying that he won't be world champion, because it could happen. Damian Priest is a former world champion in WWE, but he's not a guy. You see what I mean? So yeah, it's on that level of guy. So he could absolutely 100% get in there, do his thing, be good and get a world championship, but I don't think his ceiling is very high in WWE. And that's fine. That'll be okay. It'll depend on what his aspirations are. And I'm sure they're pretty high. And we'll see how things continue to advance for him in his career and whatnot. But I wish him nothing but the best. Honestly, the Mike Santana story, quite frankly, is fantastic. It's a legitimately great story. There's a lot of good out of that. So I'm very happy for him. If he gets called to WWE and he can cut some big checks and make some big money, that's the dream. Good for him. Props to Santana for leaving and betting on himself. I can't imagine WWE has any true interest in him. He's on the smaller side and doesn't have the charisma that leaps off the page. If he goes to WWE, it will be an NXT. He will be an NXT lifer. Well, they said there's, the Wrestle Votes said there was a main roster interest. They were interested in dropping him on the main roster. So, who knows, right? Whatever plans they might have, all these excellent plans that Paul Levesque. Have you noticed this week? I'm jumping into another tangent that wasn't just. Have you noticed over the past couple of days that we're hearing about wrestlers backstage are unhappy with their WrestleMania follow-up, or how there's no follow-up to the things they're doing? Like, I think LA Knight complained, Liv Morgan complained, Dominic Mysterio complained. Like, LA Knight went on Chris Van Vliet's show and flat out said it. He flat out said, yeah, no, they're, I'm not super into, I'm not super into the non-plans that they have for me. And then you get the reports that Dominic and Liv are upset too. That they're not, they're upset, and they should. Haven't done jack with Liv, and they were supposed to do more with Dominic, but they put him in AAA instead. But hey, AAA is the hot promotion. I don't know why Dominic is upset if he's working AAA. AAA is a hot promotion right now, folks. That's the place you want to be. It's not TN what? No. No. The true number 2 company is AAA. Have you seen how much the Mexicans love that main event there? That was tremendous. Look, I'm sure you're like, "Ooh, is Warren going to talk about it?" No, Warren's not going to talk about it. Because I haven't watched the match. I probably will end up watching the match eventually, because I'm a completionist. Everyone's glazing it, and I'm convinced there's a lot of it that's exaggerated. But even people whose opinions I respect are like, no, this was very, very good. So I'm like, okay, I'm always into watching a good match, even if everything around it is dopey. A good match is a good match. I'll probably end up watching it, not necessarily super soon, but eventually I will. And of course, the point of contention in regards to the El Grande Americanos main event, right, is that everyone is glazing it and saying how great it was, that it's a great story that was told, all accidental, by the way. It was all just like slapdash and hastily put together, just slapdash decisions that they just lucked into, quite frankly. But that's for another discussion. And it was great. And, the Mexican crowds loved it and everyone was into it, despite the fact that the main eventers are two, non-Hispanic dudes. Like one's, purebred white American, and the other guy's like, isn't he Austrian? He's Austrian or German. I can't remember. Bartel, Axel Dieter, German, right? What are we doing here? It's like, what are we doing? What the fuck is this shit? And this is my official stance. Here is my official stance on this. And it's something that will ring true because it's a stance I have begun to employ more and makes my life a lot easier. The thing that matters here in regards to putting a couple of gringos into this spot of the main event of a Triple Mania main event and calling it Lucha Libre, the Mexican audience doesn't seem to give a shit. They don't care. In fact, they loved it. They were in love with this story the whole way through. WWE fans love it. There's a lot of love going around, and I am not going to get upset. I cannot find myself getting more upset over what's the word I'm looking for? Over, I guess, this type of racial, I don't even know how to qualify it. It's not inequity. It's just like racial flipping. There's probably a term for it. I just don't know what it is. Let's call it, racial flipping like this. If the home crowd is okay with it and they love it and they're clapping and they're jumping up and down and they put in, tens of thousands of people into a building to watch this main event, I'm not going to sit here and try to pontificate and try to moralize people into saying, yeah, this is why it's wrong. I don't think it's good. I think it strips away at the very core of what Lucha Libre is. I think it's insulting. I think appropriation. Thank you. Cultural appropriation, racial appropriation. Thank you, Convoy. That's what I was looking for. Look, the point is that I can't get more upset than the people who are directly targeted by this. I can't get myself all twisted up in a knot and arguing with people online saying this is wrong when the audience this was concocted for doesn't care and actually enjoyed it. Now, as a wrestling fan, I can get upset that I can 100% get upset at the idea of the WWE-fication of Lucha Libre is here. It has begun. It's happening right now because the hottest angle in AAA, probably in Lucha Libre, was the El Grande Americano stuff. And that, to me, that is problematic for me as someone who enjoys real Lucha Libre, who watches Lucha Libre to not watch American wrestling, to watch something else, something that has its own style, its own history, its own way of doing things. It bothers me. It bothers me because ultimately WWE just looks at this and says, why do we need Mexican talent to get things over? We just had Chad Gable work a huge main event for us. He was involved in a super hot angle, probably the biggest, hottest angle in all of WWE, not just AAA, in all of WWE. And it was Shorty G, folks. So, oh my God. Do you guys hear that? I think you do. Okay, let me go check on her. And I think the screen door might be open. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be right back. Hey! What's wrong with you? What's going on? What are you barking at? Yes. Go on. Weirdo. You're a good doggy. I lost my train of thought though. How do you like them apples? Completely lost my train of thought now. I don't know. She's barking at. We also have a theory here on the show that my house is haunted. So. Yeah, we were talking about the WWE-fication of wrestling continuing and getting its fingers, its claws into AAA. But that's the point. It's like WWE at this point. The point is that WWE right now are absolutely looking at this and they're like, why do we need the Mexican talent? We got all of this over without the Mexican talent. So we can use whoever we want. So we're going to start moving further and further away. We're going to start moving further and further away from using actual luchadors. And it's just going to be more and more WWE superstars that are going to be used. Because they're moreover. They were moreover. Look, we all pointed it out months ago. They had with the Dominic Mysterio, when he was doing a thing with Vikingo, Dom Mysterio was way more over than Vikingo ever was. And Vikingo's a homegrown star, and he's an international star, Juno, on top of that. He's an international star. He was coveted. Like, it's like, who cares at this point? WWE, I care. WWE doesn't, and the Mexican fans don't seem to care. So why would I care more than them? Who am I to come out here and moralize everyone here and say this is wrong that they did it? You all know it is, but you're wasting breath because all of the principal parties don't care enough to spur any change, and even CMLL is doing slight changes, but they see what's happening, and they're all saying, they're saying all the little changes that we do, how we're not doing 2 out of 3, we're not doing captains matches anymore, right, and stuff like that. Oh, we're just trying to accommodate our international guests who are coming here so that it's more familiar to them. I'm like, fuck you. I don't want familiarity when I'm watching CMLL. I want to see CMLL. I don't want to see like standard tag rules. I get that. I get that just about everywhere else. And we're seeing more and more of these subtle little changes. I don't think CMLL is going. Look, I'm not saying that suddenly they're going to start booking, that they're going to start booking 2 American guys in their main event week after week. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I don't think that they're shielded, that they're shielding themselves from changes to the product that will eventually lead to them not feeling like themselves anymore. To an outside viewer going, oh, well, it's just like everything else. There's things to get upset about. Getting upset about, everyone going, this is true Lucha Libre, where you're like, no, these are not. Marcel Bartel and Chad Gable are not luchadors. They are not trained luchadors. They have never wrestled Lucha Libre style. These men are not lucha. They're pretending. That's the whole gimmick. That's how everything started. It's gimmicks. But they're not luchadors. You can get angry at that. All the fucking dopes talking about it, right? All of the idiot WWE fans, all the WWE adults running in, saying how this is great Lucha Libre. And you're like, oh, go fly a fucking kite. You've never watched a Lucha Libre match in your life before this main event because everyone online was talking about it. So, just hit the bricks. Anyway. Despite the interruption from Juno, those are my thoughts regarding the El Grande Americano main event match of La Noche de la Grande, I think. Anyway. If anything was going to be WWE-ified, it should be AAA. They were just doing an unwatchably bad imitation before. Now it's just soulless competence, which is better than the original AAA. Look, I never watched enough, so I couldn't say. I think people who did watch AAA would push back on that, saying that at least when AAA was bad, it still had a soul. And you said it yourself. Now this is soulless competence, but back at the very least, it had a personality. It had its own flair. It wasn't great. It stunk even. But also don't forget, there was a time AAA was great. There was a time, and for a long time, that AAA was a great promotion. Can't just let the last few years of absolutely ass booking lead you askew here? I haven't seen it either, but I share the skepticism. I find WWE and WWE adjacent machines are graded on a curve and not just by people who love them. Yeah, they're like, I think there's two curves. there's the love curve and the hate curve. I'm definitely in the hate curve. I have a tendency to look down on it much easier. I make no bones about it. I hope you all know this. I do not like WWE. I really do not like it. I don't know if you've picked up on that. I hope you're not thinking that I'm some unbiased fella here. No. I will find the bad shit that they do, and I will point it out, and I will scratch at it, and I will talk about it. Just in case you're wondering. I will guarantee you that there is someone out there that will tell you Ludwig Kaiser is more influential than Mystico and mean it. I've seen people saying that Ludwig Kaiser right now is the biggest star in Lucha Libre. And here's the other thing too. The hype is out of control. But of course we had to expect that because WWE fans who dislike pro wrestling get a whiff of some good pro wrestling and now it becomes the greatest thing ever, right? So the hype is absolutely out of control. Now what's going to happen, this is the Warren Hayes official prediction, despite the fact that I don't watch AAA, so I couldn't tell you, but the follow-up is going to stink and they are going to drop the ball. And they don't even have fucking plans for the people on their main shows in the United States. Are you going to make me believe that they have plans set up for the follow-up to this with Marcel Bartel and, you know, all of the joyous company, all of the good little fellas that go around with him in this group? Do you think that they actually have plans for all of these merry men? No, they don't. They can't even find plans for Roman Reigns, for Randy Orton. They don't know what they're doing. You're going to tell me that their little Mexican promotion is going to be better booked? Go, I hit the bricks. They struck gold on this. They struck gold. But the tactic was not, you know, pulling out your surveyor maps and looking at the flow of the river, seeing how things go downstream and where the pools of gold could be and you know, and starting to dig at very specific places. No, their tactic was, WWE's tactic to strike gold is take your pickaxe and just punch in as many holes as possible. And eventually one is going to have the gold in it. Just dig through the earth at willy-nilly and eventually we'll hit something. That's their strategy. So I am willing to bet 10 Canadian rubber bucks that within 3 months, people are wondering, what the hell happened to this angle? What the hell happened to El Grande Americano, Ludwig Kaiser, Michel Bartel, Axel Dieter Jr.? Whatever happened? Why does this, now it sucks again type of thing? Because it's chance. It's happenstance. You cannot make me believe that this was coordinated and planned. They fell into this. They got lucky. They saw that the Mexican crowd was reacting well to it, and they pivoted to make this work. That's all, which is, and I want to be clear here, a good thing. It's a good thing if they're seeing that the crowd is picking up, because they had jack shit. I mean, it wasn't hard to pivot when they had nothing to go on, you know, to begin with. They thought Vikingo was going to be the guy out the gate. And then it's like, oh, well, it'll probably be Dom. But I'm pretty sure Dom turned around and like, hey, I don't want to do Mexico. I don't want to wrestle. I want to wrestle on the main shows, man. I'm pretty sure he negotiated his way out of that, and probably his dad pulled a couple of strings. Why would Dom Mysterio be like, yeah, I'll be the face of AAA? Hey, you know who they wanted the face of AAA to be? Santos Escobar. How'd that turn out? That's what he negotiated in his contract when he almost fucked off that one time. You're going to tell me these are like this is some genius booking? Just fell into their laps. Mark Calloway, Booker of the Year? Fuck off. This is all luck. It was all happenstance and listening to the crowd. I will give them that because that is crucial. They listened to the crowd and they pivoted, but they pivoted from nothing. It is easy to pivot when you've got nothing going on. When there's nothing to pivot from, it is very easy to pivot. Most of the AAA titles are on WWE wrestlers, probably, right? Isn't it Lola Vice, their Rhea de Reyes champion, right? I think. Obscurity Knox, nice to see you. Welcome to the hate club. Fed Bad, that's right. Fed Bad Industries, living hard. Obscurity Knox is also a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel and knows things about me that that no one should know. Anyway, I watched AAA when Vampiro was trying to eat the microphone. See, that had personality when Vampiro was farting. See, all that stuff has personality. Congratulations to Mike Santana. I don't know. Good on him if he's bound for the main roster. Yeah, someone mentioned it in the chat, and I did have it on the docket here. So let's watch this. Let's read this article from the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. Hey, Mila Grace is reportedly no longer with TNA Wrestling. What? Fightful Select reported on Thursday that Grace requested her release from the company earlier this week, and it was granted within the last few days. The report also noted that there is said to be no heat between the two sides. Grace debuted for the company last June. She most recently lost a singles match to Elena Black at the March 28 tapings in New Orleans. She has also teamed with Harley Hudson and Jody Threat in a loss to the Diamond Collective at the March 6 tapings in Atlanta. Let's see. Grace recently completed a 4-show tour with World Series Wrestling in Australia, where she won the promotion's women's title from Ash by Elegance, only to drop it back to Elegance the following night. She is the current holder of the OTT women's title in Ireland and also challenged for the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Championship against Alexis Falcon at Rev Pro Bash at the Bay on May 24th. I didn't know she had all these titles. Folks, Mila Grace stinks. I was exposed to her in Marigold in the early days when I was watching the promotion and trying to get a grip on it. She stinks. And you know what? Like, here's something else. Like, she's older than you think. Like, I know a lot of people were like, yeah, she'll improve. She'll get better. She's 33. Everyone's acting like she's in her 20s. It's like, she'll develop, she'll go. She's 33. I think it's a what you see is what you get type of situation. Excuse me. And then I see all of these things here where she's winning titles in OTT. She's being booked on Rev Pro to challenge for the title. She's winning titles in Australia. I'm like, what the hell is this? Or am I a guy who's like, is my eye for talent slipping? Do people see something in Mila Grace that I am not? That I do not see? She stinks. Unless she suddenly like developed and just exploded over the past couple of years, where clearly she's been in a blind spot for me. Not a good wrestler. What are we doing here? And she asked for her release. Where's she going? What is she going to do? Why did she ask for her release? Typically, one would ask for a release if someone has a destination, something else to do, right? Because she had to be getting paid even though she was sitting at home. Even if her last matches were in March, she had to still be collecting a check at the very least. You got to be at the very least going like, at least I'm making money. And clearly she could still wrestle elsewhere. So what was the problem? Why did she request a release? And I'm like, oh, wait, fuck. Is Tony like, yeah, we'll give her a shot? She's Kevin Knight's lady friend? That suddenly explains, really? No, it's Mara Sade. No, that's not the same person at all. That is not the same person at all. I would have been stunned. I was like, oh, he likes him older, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. Come on. She wrestled under another name, right? Yeah, Jakara Jackson. That's the one I was looking for. She wrestled under the name of Jakara Jackson. Well, she's 31. I guess Kevin Knight likes him older, which is fine. Good for him. Good for him. Well, you know. But look. All I'm saying is that why would she request her release if she's... look, you could just boil this down to the intangible thing of, oh, well, you're not using me and I need to put my name out there more. I need to get around more. So just let me go and let me make my own path, which is a smart thing to do as well. You see what I'm trying to do? Like on one hand, it's like, well, you're cutting a paycheck even though they're telling you to stay at home. But maybe you're like, yeah, for my career to blossom, I need to get out there and wrestle more, which is also true. She's terrible. Anyway, best of luck to her. Steph DeLander, Denny Luna, and now Myla Grace. Who's left in this division? I mean, the Jakara Jackson girl, right? Then you have the Ash by Elegance people. There's 3 of them now, right? So that's 4. You've got Xia Li. I can't remember her non-WWE name. And Xia Brookside, right? And Jody Threat. And Elena Black. So there's like, what, about 10 of them? Tessa, right? Tessa. Who the hell is Mila Moore? What is Mila Moore? All right, Rosemary and Allie. I forgot about those. You're going to bring Su Young back? I mean, while you're at it. So they got maybe just about a dozen women in the knockouts division, right? It's pretty pitiful, I'm not going to lie. Tasha Steeles. Yeah, okay. I mean, neither has the size nor the depth. Let's be honest here. Jada Stone? Who the hell is Jada Stone? What's a Jada Stone? Jada Stone. I don't think I've ever seen this person wrestle. I don't. She's very young. She's 22 years old. I have never seen that person wrestle. Boris, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, brother. WWE will never give a partner anything but scraps, contingent on them finding those loose scraps. Those scraps sometimes, contingent on them not finding those scraps sometimes useful, correct? Jada sounds like 9 NXT names over the past years. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'm at a point where, you know, when they do the releases and they get to the NXT people, I don't know half of the people they're talking about. I have no clue. No clue who they're talking about. But if I tell you the name MJF, now we know who we're talking about. MJF is injured. And that's not good. I don't know if you knew this. That's not good. Wrestling Observer, Figure 4 Online, once again. On Thursday, the AEW World Champion was pulled from a scheduled match for Beyond Wrestling, with the promotion revealing that MJF suffered a hyperextended knee during his match against Roosh on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite. Our own Brian Alvarez, you know, he not our as in Mr. Warren Hayes, as in the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. Our own Brian Alvarez provided an update on the situation, writing to his subscribers on X. Come on, Brian. Anyway. MJF injury is legit, but they're hoping it's not serious. That was the update. Beyond Wrestling has since announced that Leo Rush and Wheeler Yuta have been added to Friday's show in Cranston, Rhode Island. MJF had been scheduled to wrestle Bobby Orlando on the show in what he said would likely be his last indie date, booking for an extraordinarily long time. So Beyond wrote on Twitter, unfortunately, MJF hyperextended his knee during his match last night and is not medically cleared to travel or compete. He will not be in Cranston tomorrow night, but assured me he will wrestle for Beyond Wrestling as soon as his schedule allows. We wish him a speedy recovery. And yeah, so do I. So I think most of us do, because this sucks. It would be very, very inconvenient. It would be very, very inconvenient if MJF were lost at this period of the year. If he had to be taken off the road, no longer able to wrestle. That would be very, very inconvenient. And not necessarily because I think he has to hold the title to Wembley Stadium. Because I'll tell you what, boys and girls and everyone in between, I'm a firm believer now that the ticket moving main event is going to be Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, with Kenny having won the title off MJF at Redemption in Montreal, which I'm likely going to go to, but for which I haven't bought my tickets yet. That would be my guess. Because I've talked about it a couple of times, but right now, I think the Wembley Stadium situation with the attendance requires that you go for a big time match that will get the passionate hardcores and will create the buzz to get people in there and ready to spend tons of money to get a ticket. Not that I don't think MJF versus Will would be a terrible match. In fact, I was looking forward to it. I still am, if that's still the plan. I'm not sitting here telling you that this is no longer the plan. But I'm very much into the idea of Will and MJF, but I'm wondering if in the back of, if I'm in Tony's shoes, which match do I fall back on to really stimulate sales for the Wembley show, which is selling fine. Don't get me wrong. We're doing 24,000 is what they were at, which is great, but this is Wembley Stadium, and you're kind of like, it for Wembley Stadium, this is not a lot. It's still a tremendous gate, don't get me wrong. But, so which one is the big mover? Which is the match that is the big mover? And my gut would say Omega versus Will. And you can even hinge this a little bit if you want. You can hinge this on Kenny, not being as top notch as he used to be, not being as nimble or athletic or capable as he once was. Now coming in, and this is probably his last big defense. One last quick title run, losing to Will, putting him over big time, passing of the torch type of situation. I think there's more gravitas to Kenny getting a main event spot here. And like I said previously, contrary to what people may believe, Max is not an egomaniac, power hungry guy. He probably does just like every wrestler does. Goes backstage, and jockeys for position. That's part of the deal. Turns out he's very good at it, But I think this is a guy who's like, look, I've had my Wembley main event in front of 80,000 or whatever it was, 74,000, who cares? Tens and tens and tens of thousands of people. I've had that moment. I've main evented that show. Plus it was the first stadium show we've ever done, like big time stadium. Yes, Arthur Ashe. Okay. Crimea River. But so I can see him going, yeah, it's fine. I've got my moment. Let's give it to someone else. I'm convinced that he could and would go down that road. Because the other thing here is that I don't think Max is necessarily concerned about long-term title reigns anymore. I think it's more of I think now he's at a stage where it's more like, well, the amount of world championship chips, that's going to be the thing. That I think is the thing that they're going to want to they're going to want to focus on. Or at least Max will. And I love this main event scene in AEW. It feels dynamic and fresh. I talk about it enough on the Dynamite review. It feels dynamic and there's always something happening. The champion is always assailed by multiple sides, multiple people gunning for him at once, and I like it. And then the turnover is that the turnover is that we get a lot of turnover. The reigns are shorter because there's more people gunning for it. So it feels much more, the world title scene feels much more lively than sitting on a guy doing that, everyone sitting back and just like going, oh, all right, here's this guy for another 6 months, I think things get stagnant. I think then it creates predictable booking. You really can't say that AEW hasn't been bold at the very least with its world title situation. You can't. Going all the way back to January when they were doing those one-on-one matches to determine the number one contender for the world title. And Then all of a sudden it's Andrade who comes out of it as the winner over Hangman and Swerve and Kenny. Like, it's Andrade. Holy shit, you know? There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff. And then, of course, Darby, right? Of course, Darby. This world title situation, the world title picture in AEW, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. And they've been keeping us on our toes. And the more things progress, the more I'm like, okay, the likely scenario that everyone thinks is going to happen, Will Ospreay versus MJF, is probably not going to happen. They're going to stick with Will. They're going to absolutely stick with Will. But we will probably, that would be my guess. If I were a betting man, I would bet some money on this. This is, by the way, for entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. Because I said it. I do not bet. I would absolutely bet on a title change between now and Wembley Stadium. As Will Ospreay claws through the Owen Hart tournament. I 100% believe that. Anyway. Back to Max. I hope it's nothing serious. I hope it's something that can get resolved quickly. I think MJF is one of the driving forces of the success that AEW has had this year. I mean, you know, if you're into the ratings stuff, look at the bounce back of ratings from last week's Dynamite as he comes back as world champion. And then they're doing over 700,000 viewers total, right? Something like that. I'm like, okay. I mean, look, at some point, you're gonna have to look at the lay of the land, and we're gonna have to start realizing some things about MJF and stop pretending that he's disposable. And I can't wait till he gets to the Fed type of thing. We're gonna stop pretending about. We're gonna start digging our heels in a little more. And my heels are pretty dug in. I think a lot of other people will. I think there's a lot of legitimate criticisms that you can volley towards Max, and I think that a lot of the criticisms that he has received, I should say, he has taken personally, but in a good sense, where he has listened to them and he has tried to adapt and take the criticisms and adapt them to his vision of the MJF performer / character, pro wrestler, whatever term you want to use. So, you know, he didn't like outright change his personality from top to bottom. You know, I for one still think the car crash promo that he cut about leaving the girl there bleed to death. No, change her. Put her, the girl was allegedly giving him a blowjob while he was speeding and putting her into the driver's seat. I love that kind of shit. Like, that's just like despicable, awful stuff. I kind of miss that sometimes. But he's been tremendous. He's been absolutely phenomenal. This year, impeccable. Absolutely impeccable. So I don't know why anyone wants to rush this guy out of the company. Christ, he's 30. He is 30. He's legitimately only 30 years old. And he's a great pro wrestler. And he just might be one of the all-time greats. He's got all the tools. And he's got the push. He's got the star power. He has the tools. Now we're on a wait and see type of situation, and I got to tell you, I'm enjoying the sights as we go along. Anyway, there's no good. Hopefully Max gets better soon. Hopefully he gets better soon. Do the dub stands that want him to go to the Fed still exist anymore? This is where I think they are. Do you want to know where I think they are right now? I think they're in hiding. I think they're in hiding right now. They're just, they're lying in wait for Max to fuck up, to do something, because they know right now they've got nothing on him. They have nothing on him because he's objectively good. His promos are not their main criticisms. Oh, his promos are so long and run on, and I wish he got an editor. And look, I was a part of that crowd about the editor, right? Get yourself an editor, Max. I was proud of that. But that was one of their main criticisms. He's so edgy. He's edgy. Well, he's 2026 edgy. But, And then finally, he gets everything on track. He's hitting on all cylinders. His promos are tighter, more concise, but still have that MJF flair. He's laying off of the really edgy stuff. The edgiest thing I've seen him do, probably you did as well, is when he was walking. He was in the arena amongst the crowd, and he was next to a more corpulent gentleman, and he flipped off one of his man boobs, just went like those. That's the edgiest thing I've seen him do. He's not throwing vodka onto children anymore, which is still objectively funny, especially when you say it like I just did. Like I say it, he's throwing vodka onto children. That was funny, and it is still funny. But you see, he's not doing any of that. And then on top of that, he's appearing on TV. He's wrestling. He's defending this title on television multiple times. He ran the indie circuit. He defended the AEW World Championship more times on the indies than Jack Perry did when he had the national title, whose idea is who you're supposed to go defend on the indies. That's baked into the national title. It's a title that travels, and yet Max ended up defending the AEW World Championship on indie shows more than the indie traveling belt did. Champion, I should say, did. So everything. The plain, simple truth is that all of the MJF haters have nothing to latch on to. And when they do squeak out something, they get shut down. They're like, no, this is actually great. Shut up. The only thing, Max is a terrible worker, which has never been true. And he has only gotten better. Maxwell Jacob Friedman is one half of one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life, which was the bloodbath that he and Mystico had last year, last summer, right? If I'm not mistaken. Was it at the anniversary show? I don't quite remember. Anyway, I remember the match. That's going to stick with me. It's one of the greatest it's one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen. He can work. He can do it all. So they're all in a little corner, and they're just waiting for him to say something that crosses a wire, that tips over a line, just tiptoes over a line. A little misogyny here. Max sucks. He's a terrible bro. What a guy. All he does is use the low hanging fruit. Lose the low hanging fruit. That's the only way he can get heat, because he can't get real heat. That's what they'll say. But they can't now. They really fucking can't. They can't. There's no all of those criticisms. Look, anyone still levying those criticisms at Max today doesn't watch the product. I can guarantee you. That's exactly what's going on. Anyone who levies those types of criticisms towards Max these days in 2026 just doesn't watch AEW. Pure and simple. But just wait till, wait and see if Max does fuck up on one thing at some point. Just goes a little askew. Throws vodka on a child again. which is still objectively fine. Anyway, but does that. Oh, they'll be out in mass. Then they'll crawl out from under their rocks and out of the grottos, and popping their heads out of the sewer systems. Then they'll come at you all at one time. So there you go. Get well soon, Max. I'm glad I'm not the vodka spot was really, really fun. Like the thing is, and this is the thing, Max didn't know it was vodka. He didn't know it was vodka. It was just like a lady holding a drink. And it just so happened it was vodka. And she probably paid like $30 for it. So that sucks too. But look, you're at a wrestling show. You're not at the ballet, lady. It's still funny. And look, they had, what was it they did? Right? They took the kid backstage. Will Washington came out and took the kid backstage. And the kid was like, I'd like to meet Powerhouse Hobbs. And he met Powerhouse Hobbs. Right? Wasn't it one of those things? Ibu said that everyone in the main event scene is supportive of each other for the most part. And the talent want the best and biggest match to main event all in. Well, that's exactly what I hear too. I can confirm. That's why I'm not. I am not worried about MJF absolutely wanting to be in the spot. That's no. Everyone in this company understands it. At least in the main event scene, right? Amongst the guys with the capital T and capital G, they know that you put your best foot forward, you'll make the most money. Just as simple as that. I mean, would you want to lose to Jack Perry? I'm not as big a Jack Perry hater as a lot of y'all are. I think Jack Perry is even more perfectly. He is a tremendous mid-card act. I think most of his times I enjoy his matches. It's the goofy stuff in the middle with the bus and all that nonsense, or when he was playing with knives and all that stuff. That's extraneous and too much. I'm perfectly content with the spot he has in the company right now. I think he fits in perfectly. I don't have an issue with it. And his matches are good. He had a good match with he's had good matches with Mark Davis. He's not a bad wrestler. Is he a world champion? No. Now we might start bucking heads. Now I might start rearing a little bit. I don't mind Jack Perry. I like his work. His in-ring work. Wasn't that 3 years ago for the vodka? That kid probably doesn't remember the shit. He probably remembers like the wrestler throwing something on him. And look, it's a cool story. This kid later on is going to have a cool story to tell. That's all there is to it. Perry has bad creative instincts, but good matches. Exactly. Jack Perry got a raw deal. He handed out an all-time receipt with his mouth, and a bully lost his mind on him. That's how he's going to be remembered, quite possibly, for his contributions in pro wrestling. But you could be remembered for a lot worse. I can push back talking about the best of Super Juniors because I have to catch up, and the finals are this weekend, semifinals and finals. So should I push that back to Monday for some full thoughts? Probably at this point, right? The long and short of it, though, the TLDR, in this tournament, there were two tournaments. There was the front end, which was really good, and then we hit like night 5, And then everything started to just piss me the fuck off. I was like, why did I ever think of getting myself invested into this bullshit? Then I really started getting mad. And then I started really getting mad at Block B. I was like, who? And literally I was going around saying, who books this shit? There were absolutely fucking useless nights in this tournament. Despite the fact, and I know because I used my voice to record it. Despite the fact that I was sitting here clapping my hands together and going, boys, the juniors are going to save New Japan. Well, egg on my face. No one wants to save New Japan. Let's do the list. I want to talk some lists. I want to talk lists. I want to talk about the greatest wrestler ever list. Did you see this list? Now, in case you're wondering what the fuck is this list, it is a list that started in 2006 on the message boards. I don't know which one. And it's a list that is compiled every 10 years by people who write in and vote and hand in their list of the top 100. You have to provide 100 pro wrestlers that you thought were the greatest of all time to compile this list. So every 10 years, I think it's a really interesting exercise to do this every decade to see how sensibilities change, right? Now, this will be the third installment. So, it's interesting to see how much people have changed their perception of wrestlers over the years, how their perceptions have changed. But we're still not like 50 years from now, then you'll have some really interesting insights. But Warren Hayes won't be around to provide them to you. Or if I am, it'll be a hoot. If I'm around in 50 years and I still have a podcast and I'm still rambling into a microphone and I'm 102 years old, I can tell you one thing. Unlike Don Callis, I will use Poligrip to keep my fucking teeth in my mouth. Anyway. So I don't want to go through the entire list because this is only the top 100. The whole thing was put together let me pull up the docket here. This here is the entire list here. Compiled on PWO, Pro Wrestling Only. I don't think it's Pro Wrestling Only that started the list, but you've got it goes up to 867 spots. Like there's even you got Lance Archer there, so on and so forth. Tom Zenk. Who put Tom Zenk in their one? Like that's like even 20 years ago, you don't put Tom Zenk as one of the greatest. Anyway, so the whole list is there. You can go check it out. It's if you Google it, Google PWO GWE Master Rankings list, and then you'll get it. Because if you just put in GWE Master Rankings, it will give you a whole bunch of stuff, right? But let's take a look at the top 10 at the very least, which I think is a very good top 10. I'm gonna be spoiling this for you maybe, but I think this is a very good top 10. Terry Funk came in at number 1. Then followed by Bryan Danielson, Kenta Kobashi, Ric Flair, Steve Austin. That's your top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time. I mean, I'm completely okay with that. Can argue a little bit maybe on positioning, or do we? Anyway, it's an excellent top 5. If we keep going, you got Tenryu at number 6, Stan Hansen at 7, Rey Mysterio Jr. at 8, Bret Hart at 9, and Misawa at number 10. I mean, this is an absolutely decent collection of wrestlers to make your top 10 greatest of all time. I don't know if I have anything to really complain about. I think there was something, I think people were curious about about Steve Austin's positioning, right? Because Steve Austin, you see, the last time they did it in 2016, he was at 24. Now that's a hell of a jump. He was at 19. No, wait a second. In 2006, he was at 16. And then 24 in 2016. That's crazy. That's a huge leap. 19 points, right? It's a huge leap. You know, maybe Stan Hansen. I don't know if I consider Stan Hansen a top 10 all-time great when you have Will Ospreay, who's right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not because there would have been an era, I think, that Stan Hansen would have absolutely been absolutely would have fit into a top 10 like a glove. But you've got Will Ospreay out there right now. And you're going to put Stan Hansen in the top 10. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. About Hiroshi Tanahashi. You know what I mean? But look, you know, like I'm not sitting here getting upset. It makes me think. It gets me thinking. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not going to be overly harsh, but I'm just questioning, and I'd have to watch the video, and I'd have to, you know, I'd have to watch some video. I'd have to watch some tape, be like, well, okay, let's look at the body of work of Stan Hansen and let's figure it out together. Because, by the way, this is a list that's based on work, right? I think that's the criteria. It's essentially your in-ring work, based on the tapes that are available. So it's kind of hard to deny that Stan Hansen was not a great worker. But was he as great as many others? I don't even think he was greater than some of his contemporaries. I think he's a little high. Is he a top 20, top 25? Sure. Top 10, a little curious. Let's check out the rest of the top 20 since we're talking about it. Aja Kong comes in at number 11. Eddie Guerrero at number 12. Hiroshi Tanahashi at 13. Toshiaki Kawada at 14. Vader at 15. Akira Hokuto at 16. AJ Styles at 17. Mick Foley at 18. Jumbo Tsuruta at 19, and Samoa Joe at 20. Here things are a little more dicey, and here I'm like, no, this makes no sense. There's some things here where I'm like, listen, Samoa Joe is a tremendous in-ring performer. He is one of the greats. He's a guy that I think his overall career often gets overlooked. But I do not think he is a top 20 all-time great pro wrestler. I don't believe it. I don't buy into it. Mick Foley is a guy that I personally enjoy. I personally love. I think he's awesome. He's one of my all-time favorites. He is not a top 20 all-time best pro wrestler. I don't even think he's a top 50. And I'm sure Mick would probably tell you yourself. He's like, nah, what are we doing here? Look, we can talk about his influence and how I talked about it just a couple of weeks ago when the rumors of him showing up on AEW started appearing. This guy's influence on modern pro wrestling is undeniable. His fingerprints are over every hardcore match that happens, every plunder match, every street fight. It has Mick Foley written all over it. His influence is undeniable. He's not a great pro wrestler. He's not at least that high. I would probably have him in my top 100, but not in the top 20. Not before Randy fucking Savage. You know what I mean? Not before El Hijo del Santo. Hell, I'll even extend him this courtesy. Not before CM Punk or Liger or Steve. You know, you see what I'm doing here? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Aja Kong, tremendous pro wrestler. But just being eked out at the top 10 is preposterous. She's not a top 10 wrestler. And I'm not even sure she's a top 25. How is she above Akira Hokuto? How is she above Chigusa Nagayo? How is she above Minami Toyota? Lioness Asuka? None of this makes... Like look, what I'm thinking is longevity. Like she's still going. She's been going for years. Are we factoring in the longevity here in the thoughts? Or is it just like, well, Aja Kong used to kick ass and we know the name? I don't know. I'm not so sure. I mean, she is one of the all-time greats. She absolutely belongs in a top 50 of this list. But not in the top 20. And especially not so close to the top 10. The fuck? Hiroshi Tanahashi, number 13? There was ever a top 10 guy that said, swap him out with Stan Hansen. What are we doing here? It's on the chat. Vader. Is Vader a top 20? I could listen to an argument. I will admit that, you know, there's admittedly a lot of people who watched a lot more Vader tape than I did. I will acquiesce that. So I will listen to an argument for Vader in a top 20. You could convince me. I'm not convinced now, but you could say, Warren, take a look at this, and get back to me. I'm like, all right. I would entertain the notion. What are we doing? Randy Savage in 21. Again, a guy who is extremely influential, one of the best workers for 2 decades of American pro wrestling. That's nuts. There was a big discussion in a lot of my circles for these spots here, 28, 29, 27, 28, 29, which are separated by, which are owned, I should say, by Kazuchika Okada 27, Jerry Lawler 28, and Kenny Omega 29. And people are wondering, well, how could you split this up with Jerry Lawler, right? I don't have a good answer. But if you're considering, like, if you're factoring in, you know, the work that they did at the time that they were wrestling, Jerry Lawler worked all the fucking time and he was always on top and he was a great worker. Like, is he on the level of Okada and Omega? No, but this is like, we're talking, it's 30 years apart. My math is, how does math work? Yeah, it's practically 30 years apart between Lawler's heyday and these two guys' heyday. Wrestling has changed tremendously. You know, it's like comparing, you know, this, Joe Lanza made a very good comparison here in this, for this type of argument where it's like, well, you know, it's like when people argue between LeBron and Michael Jordan, like who's the greatest of all time? Well, Jordan wouldn't be able to compete in today's NBA. Yeah, no shit. You know, it's like, of course, because he was playing for his time. And the same thing with LeBron. He's playing for his time. So sitting around comparing these two dudes who athletically were gifted for the times that they were playing basketball in, and were the top of their class, comparing them both and using the historical transposition as a way to sort of gotcha. Well, that doesn't work. It doesn't connect. So you can't say, well, put Jerry Lawler in New Japan in 2017. Let's see what he does. That's stupid. You can't. You just can't do that. It's unfathomable. Just because you're like, because you would assume that if Jerry Lawler had the prominence and worked in the same era of Okada and Omega, he would work on their level. And then otherwise, no, of course, if he works like he did in the 80s during the heights of Omega and Okada in New Japan, of course he's a schlub. But he's not a schlub in the 80s. He's at the top of a territory for years. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff here. See John Cena at number 34. Just absolutely preposterous. And the one that really got to me is Eddie Kingston at number 95. Now, folks, I love Eddie Kingston, and you probably love Eddie Kingston as well. Eddie Kingston has been put over on this podcast more often than not on the Dynamite reviews. We fucking love Eddie Kingston, and we know why we love Eddie, because he brings a level of intensity and authenticity that is so real and raw that it shines throughout everything he does. He's an incredible talker. He's an authentic guy, heart on sleeve. The Eddie, it's a what you see is what you get type of situation. Eddie is tremendous at the promo side of pro wrestling. He's awesome. He's a good worker, good little worker. He's been on the downgrade, of course, injuries, age, so on and so forth. Fine little worker. He'd probably tell you himself, I'm no great shakes. There's no way he's a 100 best wrestler of all time. That's insane. That's nuts. Eddie Kingston in the top 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. I can name 100 other wrestlers before I'd name Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's not a great wrestler. That's it. But we love Eddie Kingston. He's crazy skilled at one of the facets of pro wrestling, and probably one of the most important. So that really fucking bugs me, right? So, William Regal at 72, I'm like, is he really? Is he really? Will Ospreay's at 75. It's like, I understand, like, he's divisive and whatnot. And you're probably wondering yourself, because I saw in the chat, it's like, what, John Cena at 34? What the fuck is this? I was very excited at the prospect. Very, very excited at the prospect of doing my own ballot for the GWE 100, right? And I asked around, because I've never done one before. I wasn't so deep into stuff, and I definitely wasn't podcasting in 2016. And so I was like, okay, I'll do this. I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm going to do this. This sounds like a lot of fun. So I ask around. I'm like, okay, so how do you get a ballot? Like, what's the process? You just sign up. Okay. And do you think that if I have a podcast, talking about pro wrestling, they'll accept me? I can show them the writings at Voices of Wrestling. Will that stuff help? Like, what are they looking for consideration? It's like, oh, no. there's no consideration. There's no approval process. Anyone can vote in it. Anyone can vote on it. Yeah. It's an open ballot. You just have to know about it. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this then. That's what I decided to do. I'm like, I'm not wasting time and energy to really think about my top 100 and putting my brain, like putting some actual brain power behind it, thinking about it, thinking about matches and differences between this wrestler and that wrestler and their impact and how they worked and where were they positioned at the time of when they were in their heyday, and really think about it. When I'm convinced there are people who just sat down and within 5 minutes filled out their list with all their faves. They put in all their favorites and then sent it in. That their number one was, Jey Uso or whatever the fuck, right? Like, no. And then a little voice popped inside my head and is like, Warren, that's a very snobbish attitude. That's very snobbish that you'd be like, no, I do not want to participate with the plebeians in their little games here. And I'm like, sure, yes, I concur and I agree. There's something a little howdy-towdy about my reaction to this, where I'm like, it's like, oh no, I'm not doing this. But it's not because I thought it was beneath me. I decided not to do it because I know that the amount of effort that I would put in to making a legitimately complete list in my eyes would not be worth the end result. And I look at these top results, aside the top 10, but I look at the rest of the top 100 and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad I didn't do it. Look, again, no disrespect. Miko Satomura, excellent pro wrestler, not one of the top 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. Absolutely not. Same thing with Dump Matsumoto. Tremendous. But no, she's not a top 100 of all time. Where was he? John Cena at number 34? I mean, that's your thing there. If we're talking about work, no. So look, this ended up being like an IMDb of pro wrestlers, right? It's just like everyone can vote, everyone can attribute points, and that's it. And honestly, like I look at this and I'm like, this is a good barometer of where wrestling sensibilities live amongst fans. Right? Wouldn't you agree, Chad? Like, this is a good snapshot of where wrestling fans seem to place their favorites and who they favor over others. This is very interesting. It's an interesting exercise nonetheless. It's just, like I said, for the effort that I'd put into it, and knowing, and there's some pals that I hang out with, I know the amount of effort that they put into it. And they're watching tape, they're making sure, they're like, oh, so, I've been watching, I don't know, Aja Kong's run in 1998 to 1999. That was a blind spot. Am I missing anything, guys? It's like, oh yeah, did you see this match? Oh no, I didn't. Thank you. Like there's people who are actually putting in the effort, and there's people who have absolutely sent in meme ballots. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't think it's an uninteresting list, but I think a list put together by, for lack of a better word, experts, like people who do sit down and watch tape, people who do have, a comprehension of wrestling history and how it's developed and what was going on at the time, who was on top, what was the competition like, that can factor in all of these elements. That kind of list would be really fucking interesting. I guess that's what the Observer Hall of Fame is, to a degree. So, it's not uninteresting, but it's not like, for me, the juice was absolutely not worth the enormous sweaty squeeze that I would have put into it. Absolutely not. So it's interesting. Not poo-pooing on it, not saying it doesn't have a place, not saying it doesn't hold a role, an important role, but I don't know. There's certain moments that I think gatekeeping is okay. Because I think all of this stuff about, just enjoy the professional wrestling you want, wrestling's for everyone, it's a nice sentiment, but it also hurts pro wrestling. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, well, you should, it can be for it doesn't have to be for everyone. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Anyway. My issue for doing this, I don't have the deep knowledge of Japan, Mexico, and possibly anywhere around the world, so it would be a bit more difficult for me. Silver Apocalypse, let me tell you, you have already put more thought into this than I'm convinced a bunch of other people had. Because there are people who strictly watch WWE who filled this out. I hope you realize that. There are people who just, you've already like held back and went, yeah, but see, your integrity took over. Or you're like, look, I can't do this. I don't watch enough pro wrestling outside of what happens in America. So you've already X'd yourself out, and that's all on you. These lists will never fully be comprehensive or accurate. It isn't like greatest baseball players where you have some solid metric foundation, but then there's defensive metrics missing. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, look, you guys know by now. Every year, I'm part of Pro Wrestling Illustrated's women's rankings, right? Every year. And part of the criteria is the accomplishments, right? Like the legitimate, like the victories, the championships, tournaments won, that kind of stuff, And I'm like, but we all understand this is all kayfabe, whereas, if you have a really good batting average, or if you've hit like, 63 home runs in your season, that's remarkable. Like, that's top tier stuff. But, over the past year she won, he won this amount, this title and this title and title. It's like Mercedes Moné, right? And we ranked up at the top of the list. It's like, oh, look at all the titles she won. So, like, these are all kayfabe accomplishments. It's scripted, but it weighs heavily because we understand that there's a part of when we put the list together that is kayfabe. But you want to do this without the notion of kayfabe, right? Without the notion of story and angles. And you want to do this, and there's no way to add like hard data to it. You can look like at someone's win-loss record, but that just gives you an idea of their push. And then again, maybe it can also give you the impression that they were pushed more than they actually were. is if you have a mid-card guy who's working, a lower mid-card guy who's working a show, who's working shows and he's always on the lower mid-card, but he's always winning. And then you look at the end of year stats and you're like, look at this guy. Look at Joe Toledo here. He's won 73 out of his 82 matches this year. What a fucking run this guy's been on. But then you realize, he's a prelim guy. So you can't judge on hard stats. That's what makes these lists very difficult to rank. Because there's always a creative component to it, I guess. Someone had the Usos in their top 10. Yeah, I think they had Jey Uso, I think. I'm like, fucking Christ. That's when I want to shake people and just watch any other wrestling. Watch any other thing. And then try to tell me after that Jey Uso is a top 10 greatest wrestler of all time. I've probably watched 5 of the top 10 on this list. I mean, everyone here comes highly recommended. Everyone here comes highly recommended. You need these, there's no argument here other than, well, maybe I want to put Kabashi over Danielson for XYZ. Whatever the fuck. Who cares? These are all maybe Stan Hansen, but that's a very personal choice. But even then, I'll never tell anyone, don't watch Stan Hansen. He's of course, you'll sit down, you'll watch a Stan Hansen match, and you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna go crazy. You're gonna watch him wrestle Andre the Giant in New Japan. You're just gonna lose your fucking mind. You're gonna go, oh my god, what the fuck is this fucking match rules? Not that he wasn't great. He was great. Was one of the top 10 greatest wrestlers of all time. That's all I'm questioning. What I'm trying to say is that the oeuvre, the work of all of these 10 gentlemen here is absolutely worth your time. And you can pick up anywhere, watch any match, and you'll have something special, I'm sure. Unless maybe Austin on in the main event of a Raw, which really wasn't a main event, where he starts wrestling, but then 3 minutes in, there's interference and they call the match. Maybe not one of those. But every one of these guys here, and Mysterio, I'd go for his stuff in the 90s. Even the stuff outside of WCW. If I'm exploring the greatness of Rey Mysterio Jr., absolutely pre-WWE. Absolutely. That's what I'm going for. WCW, he had some great moments, but his stuff before coming in, his work with Psychosis, absolutely fantastic stuff. And a real game changer. And you might watch it today and go, see, there's the thing, is you look at it today and you're like, well, everyone does this, and that. But that's it. He's a trailblazer. He's one of the greatest luchadors of all time. He's a super influential guy. So at the time, he's doing these crazy things with Psychosis as his base, and everyone's losing their fucking mind. They're going, holy shit, this guy's amazing. Yeah, Ray and Eddie, Halloween Havoc, 97. That's a great pick. Anyway, it's a great top 10. No real qualms about it. I can be nitpicky about Stan Hansen if I want. I'd put Hiroshi Tanahashi in the top 10. Personally speaking. All right. Okay. Well, we still have Psychosis does not get enough love. No, he really doesn't. He really doesn't. So, there's a couple of other things. We'll just push it back to Monday. The Voice of Wrestling 30 Under 30. Why did I talk so long? Is it the Mila Grace talk that is forcing me to bump the 30 Under 30 list to Monday? Is that what happened? Because if it's Mila Grace's fault, I'm very upset at Mila Grace, not at myself. But we'll do the 30 Under 30 on Monday. It'll be about a week since it's passed. Look, I posted my ballot. I posted my ballot on Blue Sky, and I also posted it on my website. Oh wait, Warren, you have a website? Yeah, MrWarrenHayes.show. You can check it. It's more of a landing page, essentially, with all of my links. But I do have a couple of things there that are unique and might be of interest to you, like my 4-star match tracker. So every match that I give 4 stars or more to throughout the year is compiled there, and I've got some stats around that, interesting stats, just so that you see how I'm settling in this year, what matches are catching my attention, and so on and so forth. So you can check that out. And I've also I put up my ballot. I put up my ballot for the Voice of Wrestling 30 Under 30. But we'll talk about it on Monday. We'll talk about it on Monday because a lot of the criticism is, well, not a lot of the criticism, but some of the criticism, because it got a lot of people hot this year, which is fine. There's no WWE people in the top 30. I can speak on that as a contributor, a voter. We can talk about that. But on Monday, just like I think, there's no WWE people there, but then there's also like prominent spots that are given to wrestlers who wrestle in minuscule promotions in Japan, right? So why are they in the top 10? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on Monday. Give you my thoughts on that, because look again. It's probably, hey, Rory Starks. That I thought I saw you earlier and I didn't say hi to you. I apologize. Nice to see you, by the way. Welcome to the chat. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, this is a list like every year, and all the lists that I do, I think this is the most fun one, because it really is about prospects, about the future of the business, about people who are on the come up or who have already reached heights at an extremely young age. So that makes this list a lot of fun to think about and put together and write up some stuff. It's tremendous. It's my favorite one to put together. That being said, I don't always agree with the results, and that's fine, right? But I'm not throwing any fits about it. But there's stuff that pops up where I'm like, this is strange. But then again, like, it's stuff that oftentimes it's people in promotions that I don't really watch, so I'm not well equipped to come and argue against it either. So, but we can talk about it at the very least. So that's what we'll do Monday. We'll bump that there. We'll talk about the best of Super Juniors. We'll talk about the fucking comments from what's his name, former president, co-president, not Michelle Barrios, the dude. No, that was anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about all of that on Monday. Did Fletcher get the number 1? No, Saya Kamatani did, but Fletcher came in at number 2. It was this last year, everything belonged to Saya Kamatani. I'm sorry to say, it was all hers. But he came in at number 2. I invite you to go to voicesofwrestling.com to go check it out. Is the Old Spice still lingering? Is that me? Is that my new nickname? The Old Spice? Thank you, everyone, for telling me I did a good job. That is expected from the chat at the end. I appreciate it. Appreciate it tremendously. I hope that's it. That's it. So go visit MrWarrenHayes.show. Go check that out. Look at all the little tidbits and pieces of information that you know or may not know about me. And follow me on Blue Sky and the Discord and all that. We'll be back Monday, folks. Monday to talk about professional wrestling some more. In the meantime, I hope you have a tremendous weekend. Enjoy it a lot. Stay away from stupid people. I'll see you next week.